He called them suckers and losers. Who in the hell does he think he is? Who does he think he is?
Who does he think he is, Sean Gregorian? Who does that guy think he is?
Well, me.
Who does Sean think he is?
Make me look muted.
Oh, man. It's best to say he was muted. We have Lena Star Moon, who might know what the deal is. She said, that's a deep thought, Sean. It's so deep, we can't even measure it. That's how deep it is. Oh, Maddie Lynn, who says, baby Sean. Yes, Sean is a baby. He needs to be pampered. And how's that diaper rash? Tonight, late night update. That's right, news radio edition here. Dean Ryan is back with you almost virtually through song, through spirit, through heart, as we do a little investigation into Puerto Rico, the best audio format, theater of the mind you can ever dream of. Brace yourself. Late night update is here, Puerto Rico. Well, welcome everybody to another late night update with a twist. Yeah, a little twist here. I have been wandering throughout the desert with a horse with no name. That's right, Dean Ryan back at you here tonight. As I am trying to gather up the pieces that have been just completely, just shattered, I guess you could say. If you don't know, well, the Real Deal Media official setup, the gear, the computer has all been taken down, and it's in the process of gathering back up, which we hope that will be at some point next week. We hope. But anyways, you're getting the best news radio edition ever in this very here late night. But tonight is very interesting and very timely, as we're going to just kind of peer into Puerto Rico. That's right, Puerto Rico, the beautiful, beautiful enclave, the island, the little province that could, that did, or maybe they're going away, as a lot of chatter is Puerto Rico, like some of the constituents in Hawaii, want to break away from the U.S. But there is a very sinister underbelly that's now underway in Puerto Rico, as now very frivolous killings of the very dark in nature seem to be taking place, and they're accelerating. Why? Why is that? What is going on? And what kind of culture and spokesperson of it is embracing the now new phenomenon, the meteoric rise of a artist who you'll be seeing in the Super Bowl coming up next year, a Mr. Bad Bunny. We'll be talking about that, and a Turning Point USA twist as well, and some other very witchy black magic kind of ordeals here as we delve into Puerto Rico with our very, very favorite guest, one of our favorite guests, friend of the show, the spokesperson in Mastermind, the one and only Anna Toledo, is here as targeted individuals, as she talks about quite often. We'll be getting into that with her, but especially Puerto Rico, her home, her origins, where it all began. In fact, I believe she is even here with us tonight, and let's welcome the beautiful Anna Toledo to the stage. Are you here with us here, Anna? Anna, there you are. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I'm doing
good. Welcome to our news radio edition here at Late Night Update. As it is quite the scene here. Welcome. And I should just mention right off the bat, you can always catch Anna in her new podcast that she's promoting. Wonderful podcast, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central, I believe, on Rumble. Did I get that time right?
And it's called
The Gavel, and it's on the Targeted Individuals channel. You got to check that out, and you don't want to miss that. But Anna, how are you doing? It's been a long time since you have graced the RDM hallways here at the university. A lot of people have asked about you. How's Anna doing? Have her check this out. So you are quite the popular persona around here. So how have you been? And let's talk about Puerto Rico too, as it's in the news.
My favorite. Well, I've been well. Thank you so much for having me. And I do love your audience because it's a an echelon above intellectually above most of the people, and then they get it, so thank you for having me here and being with this audience that actually gets it.
Exactly, we do get it, and sometimes we just do trigonometry just for fun. It's the kind of intellect that's out here, and algebra, just a pastime. This is an international type of show here. And Anna, you're from Puerto Rico. How many years did you live there in that country? And a good portion, right, of your life.
Absolutely. I was born. I grew up there at age 18. I went to Colombia and New York City for 4 years. Then I went back to Puerto Rico and did law school there because my father was a professor. So I went to law school for free. And then I did a master's of environmental law at Vermont Law School. And then I decided to come back to clean up my beloved, beautiful, gorgeous island from all the pollution and that has been perpetrated upon it. And so, after 1995, which is when you can figure out my age there, when I graduated from my master's in environmental law studies, I was living there until 2021, when I had to escape in 2022 because the targeting was so horrific that I really thought I was going to be murdered. But then I learned that targeted people are an expensive experiment, and they don't like to kill us.
I never knew you graduated college at 10 years old. That's incredible. You are a prodigy. That is, I've never heard about this. This is
particularly
incredible.
From Colombia. No, actually, did I tell you wrong? Yeah, I went to Colombia in 1989. So that's when you can figure out the math.
Such a even younger age. You were just a brainiac coming out of the womb. That is sensational. This is
actually, I'm lying. I went in 1985 and I graduated in 1989. And so, I was there for 4 years. When I went to college, people still did college in 4 years. I didn't know that, as the years went by, the average is 6 years for people to graduate from college.
Anna, I hate to break it to you. I'm still in college, and I should have like 5 doctorates. Yes, I'm.
Good for you. I wish I could be a perennial student.
Well, exactly. I mean, but being a ceramics major that I am in a whiz, I don't want to get too much into it and flex my brain. But here's some things. Okay, Puerto Rico's in the news. We're going to learn some things about Puerto Rico, and I think it's very key that we do, because Puerto Rico has. What is that for they can vote in the general election, but they can't vote in the primaries for president. Is that correct?
No, that's a great question. Okay, here's the thing. 1917, Puerto Ricans were granted citizenship. So for everybody that says they're not Americans, you're wrong. We are United States citizens since 1917. Number two, I would say that more than 90% of the people do not speak English. And that is why the mainstream media in Puerto Rico, that they're not very smart, most of them, they can feed propaganda to people because they don't understand English and they don't watch alternative programs, alternative media in English. So even though we are at heart very conservative, the people are like, no, Donald Trump is the devil, and in fact they had a mock election in the general election. It was a mock election for president, and 90% voted for the female candidate of the Democratic Party. And so the thing is that we can vote in the primary, but we cannot vote for president because, as you know, there is such a thing as no taxation without representation. We don't have, we're not a state, and we don't have Congress people. And that has been intentionally done by the Democrats. They have sabotaged the capacity of Puerto Rico to ever become a state because, for many reasons, but most importantly is because we would take at least 7 of their Congress people from Chicago and California, you know, in the and the 2 senators, and they don't want that. So they want to keep us as second-class citizens that don't receive the same benefits. But again, we don't have federal taxation, and that is why Puerto Rico became a tax haven.
Okay. So this is interesting. And there's some movement happening now that Puerto Rico, and look, I heard the rumblings about this in Hawaii back in 2020. I was approached by people connected to the Hawaiian royal blood, the originals, who just happened to live in Lahaina, by the way, who were planning and looking around to get out of the U.S. And now it appears the same thing is now underway in Puerto Rico. Because I think a lot of the concerns, as you expressed, taxation without representation, and to the same point, America, Samoas, the Samoan Islands, they're chirping the same thing too. You know, they get that vote, but they don't get the ultimate vote. What do you know about this? What's the consensus on that? Do people want to leave the states?
No, absolutely not. I can tell you, there was, if they did today a referendum saying either independence or statehood would win probably by 70%. And the reason I know that is because people there are not stupid. They know that we need the protection of the United States as well as the oversight. Okay.
Right.
Even if it's not very well carried out, and I'll give you an example in the environmental arena. We are under Region 2, and Region 2 discriminates against Puerto Ricans, and they don't apply the same law that they do in the United States. And I'm going to give you an example. Primary wastewater treatment plants were prohibited in the United States as of 1977, except very few exceptions, like a little 1 million gallon plant in 1 million gallons per day in Maine, which is very cold. But in a tropical environment where the waters are really warm, you cannot have a primary wastewater treatment plant because it wreaks havoc on the corals and everything. So what does the New York people, EPA, do? Oh, it's okay. And there are like 60 or more primary wastewater treatment plants in Puerto Rico. 96% of our beaches, most of the time, don't meet the minimum standards, health standards for swimming, for recreation. And that is discrimination by the United States EPA, and also the local EPA that is full of bureaucrats that are just, part of the local government. So people, if they ask them, do you want to be independent or a state? I am telling you that they were going to choose the state because they are afraid of the independence, because they don't want to become a Venezuela. They don't want to become a Brazil.
Well, isn't it also the case, too, that a lot of people who live in Puerto Rico also live in New York, or they got relatives and friends that do, and they just kind of go back and forth? That's kind of how I've always seen it, being from California, as we're far removed from New York and anything Puerto Rico. So it's very foreign to us. But is there any kind of credence to that?
Yes, there was, because there was a huge migration in the 50s because of the poverty in Puerto Rico. So there was a huge migration to Chicago and New York. And so they always dream, Puerto Rico, we have a beautiful song. It's called In My Old San Juan, which is where my house is actually. And it is, Puerto Ricans, we always dream of going back to our patria, to our homeland.
Yes.
But right now, there is also what is called the Act 2260 migrants, which are the millionaires from the United States that have to live there 180 days a year, supposedly, but they don't even check that. And what they do is they only pay 4% state tax, Puerto Rico tax, and no federal taxes. So you have really super duper wealthy people that
Right.
that have not only moved to Puerto Rico, but they are kicking out the locals and like shutting down beaches for themselves and taking over as if they owned. Because I can tell you, and it's not that I'm prejudiced, because I've lived in New York, I've lived in Paris, I've lived in Vermont, and I can tell you, Puerto Rico is the most amazing place on earth. I can tell you, it's the most beautiful and amazing place there is to live.
Interesting. Okay. So now there seems to be, as we're talking about some of the maybe malicious intent or some downward fraughten kind of vibrations going on right now, is now Puerto Rico, speaking of Chicago, as you mentioned earlier there, Puerto Rico soccer team and Argentina were supposed to have had a match in Chicago just yesterday, I believe, and it was removed because of ice. Where do the average Puerto Ricans, how are they viewing ice? Because I don't think it affects them, although you think that, like the blacks in America, they want ICE to come in because all the migrants are taking all their benefits that, they think it's their birthright, so to speak. What is the consensus on that?
No,
or is that just a Democratic myth? Tell me.
I'm going to tell you, and this is completely politically incorrect, but it's the truth. Okay. One of the problems in Puerto Rico is that the high level of welfare has made people not want to work. And so I tell you, as somebody that I restored my house, I could not find a single Puerto Rican that would want to work, and I paid well. So the Dominicans have played a really important role in the renovation, for example, at least in Old San Juan, and in a lot of labor, and in like most of the nannies I had for my son, they came from Dominican Republic, and so because the Puerto Rican people in lower social classes or working classes, they don't want to work because they would rather live off the government, including the money that comes from the United States in food stamps and all kinds. They figure it out, and they say no, because if I get a job, then they won't give me those food stamps, or they won't give me the Section 8 housing. So unfortunately, the United States aid that has not been controlled, because they don't demand that you look for a job. Well, that has prejudiced the Puerto Rican society as a whole, because they don't feel a desire to become better, to rise up in the social echelons, and to work hard for their bread. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, that does. And but it's almost like that Caribbean lifestyle, and you see this in very very posh places, but also very laid back areas, tourist oriented. It's kind of tomorrow's the best day of the week kind of ordeal. But
absolutely.
But now there seems to be some rumblings in the region. Well, this just came out now because, war, what is it good for? Well, it affects a lot of people in this case, as now a new Caribbean war has now officially begun. Latin American nations are warning Trump of armed response to bombed ship. So the United States, in case you don't know out there, the U.S. military or the Navy, bombed a ship full of our own citizens and other citizens as well. So now Colombia's President Gustavo Petro has said that a vessel bombed in the Caribbean by the United States was Colombian, and as he warned of a new war scenario. Well, that seems to be the case, as now a greater war is now going to be coming off, as a vessel off the coast of Venezuela was struck. The news comes off the hills as Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense or War, in his new title, has now insisted that he has every authorization needed to strike suspected drug boats. Well, that is certainly a rumbling in the region, is it not? Because the drug boats are coming from the drug Norco states, and a Norco state would be called Puerto Rico. Am I wrong on that?
Let me tell you, being an island, Puerto Rico is the most porous border that the United States has. And by the way, let me just finish. What I don't know if I was clear on the ICE. Puerto Ricans don't like the ICE people because they are very brotherly with their Dominican brothers and sisters. So that's my answer to you on the ICE thing. Regarding the drug ships, here's I was mentioning, when I was doing my environmental investigations, I would go around and I would go into places that I had no clue they were really dangerous, but they were. And I was taking pictures of these houses that were discharging their raw sewage straight to the bay. And I went to this town in Santa Isabel, which is in the southern part of the island, Santa Isabel. And in there, a guy told me that at night he had to put his mattress on the floor because there were these speedboats going from east to west and west to east, shooting sprees. And it was all drug wars in the south of the island. And I think that is why President Trump is focusing on that area. You see, Puerto Rico, the north of Puerto Rico is the Atlantic Ocean. The south of Puerto Rico, even though we're tiny, is the Caribbean Sea. So these attacks are supposedly happening in the south of the island. But I do know that there was a lot of drug trafficking going on in the south. I know that.
Interesting. It's always, there's always like a cover for a cover. We think of Mexico. We don't think about how the fact that China is all up and down their ports. When you think of Africa and the continent you don't think about how the Chinese construction crews and the aiding and abetting of warlords are not just at China's hands, but Russia, U.S., and anybody who has a motive for the modern day imperialism. So I guess here's a question, and I want to get into some of the turning point USA relations here, as that's a real eye opener. But who do you think has, outside of the U.S. in Puerto Rico, who do you think has a very hidden hand, a heavy hand in the province? Because we know Cuba and China and Russia, some of these places are just proxy states. Who do you think that hidden hand would be, if any?
Well, China has bought a lot of land in Puerto Rico, and that is something that President Trump needs to look into, because Puerto Rico is strategically and militarily, it's a really important, because of where we're located, we're so important to the United States. And so he has to look into that. They have bought infrastructure stuff, but who I think is controlling now and is all these billionaires that have taken over the island, and it's like, oh my God, this is paradise. This is for us, and they're kicking out Puerto Ricans, and they are, they're just bad gringos. I'm telling you, many of them can be good people, but many of them are acting like, you get out of here, you speak or whatever, you native, we don't care, we have the money,
right?
And it's like, for example, this guy, the what do you call him, the boxer that Paul, whatever his name, Paul is. Okay, so he went with a 4-track driving in areas where there is turtle nesting. Do you see? That's the kind of offense that happens, that you're like, clearly you never have grown in this. And I'm not saying that Puerto Ricans, they throw garbage and they don't take care of the island, and it's a huge education campaign that needs to happen, which I hope I have the age and the money to go back and do a lot of things. For example, we have 1 million. Listen to this. In a small 100 by 33 miles island, we have 1 million of stray animals. And I want to have a lot of money to go and build a state-of-the-art animal, sterilization and rescue facility, but because people are just not taught a lot of, there's a lot of good people,
conservationism.
Yeah, and they don't, they are not taught to preserve the island. But these people that have, I'm telling you, people just discover Puerto Rico for the incredible, marvelous place it is, and they just want to own the whole thing.
Well, you're right about one thing: the beauty at hand, which derives from nature, is a high value piece of property. Anybody who is a developer would look at that and just see stars. And this could very well be a very deciding factor of what the EU is trying to do, because from all signs are pointing that Spain is very interested in having Puerto Rico back. And that's something a lot of Americans don't know about, is the Spain history between the two countries. As U.S. territory considers rejoining Spain. And it would make a lot of sense in Spain, and Cortez, the conqueror, went to Puerto Rico and then Mexico. So you could see, as you can hear it right now from Anish, it is naturally a beautiful piece of property and conservation. Now, I want to jump to there's a lot of hoopla with the pop culture phenomenon coming up with the Super Bowl, which I'm so out of the mix. I don't know if you watch football, Anna. I couldn't tell you who's who, but this one has garnished some national conversation and dialogue like we haven't heard about since Dan Quell was talking about Murphy Brown all the way back then and reminding us how to spell potato. But listen to this now. We have Marjorie Greene Taylor, the congresswoman over there in Tennessee, saying that the Super Bowl halftime performance of a Puerto Rican national artist named Bad Bunny is demonic. Marjorie Taylor Greene demands that English language law become law before Bad Bunny's show. Isn't that interesting? Even so much so, the All-American Super Bowl halftime show, as we've always known, even Donald Trump is getting involved in this fiasco. He said he's even spoken, Trump that is, he's even spoken to the Puerto Rican president about how Bad Bunny is blatantly a disrespectful household name that would be going in everyone's house during the halftime performance. And so on top of some of the killings and things going on there, I want to touch upon real quick. This is really trending now. Anna, I got to be honest, I'd never heard of Bad Bunny in my life. I've heard of the Boiling Bunny from, we know what she did with that.
I know. From, what's her name? Fatal Attraction.
Yeah, Glenn Close. I mean, could have they found a better actress it would have been more believable to me as the viewer. But anyways, that aside, who is Bad Bunny? Why should we be fearing this demonic character as it's being articulated? As we dip into culture here, who, where, what, when, why?
He's Bad Bunny is this character. He came out of nowhere, and for those of you that want to do the homework, in fact, I'm going to write an article about it. It is really embarrassing for me to translate it here. I could translate it a little bit, simultaneous translation for you, some of the lyrics, but it's really so embarrassing that I would rather put it in paper and say, you read at your own risk. His pre-2024 lyrics are like, no, I can't say it because it's just so disgusting, but it's outrageously disgusting. What happened is that in 2024, he started writing about, they're going to steal my land and they're going to do like they did in Hawaii. So what's happening, this is a whole psyop. and Bad Bunny that controls the masses, because in Puerto Rico, the Bad Bunny issue is the people are so mind controlled with this character who doesn't have a good voice, who doesn't have even nothing. He didn't even have musicians when he would have his concerts. Okay, now he does. But so here's what he's saying. Let's rebel. Let's become independent. Of course, he's a billionaire. Let's become independent because the gringos are going to take our land. And this is all funded by Soros. Because why? Because all the millionaires in Puerto Rico don't want Puerto Rico to become a state, because then they would be subject to federal taxes. You see? So it's all very convenient to entertain this figure fostering the independent. And don't take me wrong. No one more than me wishes Puerto Rico could be an independent country. But I have to be intellectually honest, because the most important resource of a country, it's its workforce. And when you have over 60% of the people on some kind of welfare, you cannot reasonably think that you can have a country. When you have a country where in one governorship, 20 of the people in his cabinet went to jail for corruption, you cannot think we can run a country. You see?
Wow. And I think you mentioned to me in the green room that it is comparable to Mississippi, or half of Mississippi's GDP.
The per capita income per person, okay, is in Puerto Rico is half of the per capita income of Mississippi. That is the poorest state in the nation. Let me tell you something. Along what I was saying right now, when I came to Puerto Rico after I graduated from my master's in environmental law in 1995, 50% of the water that was produced for serving the customers was being lost in outdated infrastructure. Today, 50% of the water produced for consumption continues to be wasted. And this is talking 30 years. That's number one. Electric grid. If it wasn't for the United States, we would have nothing. And people are aware of that. So it's, although I am a proud Puerto Rican, like I tell you, I just wish we could be free. We are not in a position. We don't have the manpower. We don't have the resources. We don't have the agriculture. 98% of the food eaten in Puerto Rico is imported. See? Well,
it's a generational fight. There is a Turning Point USA twist to this Bad Bunny story, but a Turning Point twist in general. The Turning Point USA, which I guess is still going on, announces that the All-American halftime show as Bad Bunny, they're going to counter the halftime show. So very interesting. But Anna, you have a story about that, and I want to get to that. And I want to get to how there's even a Bad Bunny to come about, because a lot of the times pop culture is a reflection of the people. And there's certainly a lot of reflections of that kind of what they've called and coined demonic. Well, there's some weird things happening that could be categorized as demonic in Puerto Rico. I want to touch upon that on the other side here at Late Night Update, as this is quite the story. And on a standby, we're going to take this quick break if you don't mind. Okay, so there you have it. When we get back here as the Late Night Updates News Radio Edition. That's right. KFWB. That's the news to me. Anyways, we're going to take this quick break and get into the plot twist of Turning Point and what is Anna know? What is she going to share with us? As well as what are these black magic, if you will, kind of ordeals happening on the island? What is it? And we'll get an update on the targeted individuals to close off the segment. We'll be back after this quick message. Tonight. Remember, going into the 90s? There's some movies that I would recommend you leave in the past. The movies with cops. So you had one cop who was playing by the rules, ready for retirement, the other one who was rogue. took the badge. Maverick. He's a maverick. He don't play by the rules. He's dangerous. He hangs on to 18-wheelers going, 90 miles per hour by the side and takes a fleet of army down, a whole fleet. Just talking about it, I get blurry. That's how bad it gets. No, there's no rules. Once you take the badge off, anything goes. It's full on, too, when the good cop, who played by the rules his whole career, goes,
All right, I'm taking my badge off, too, for this one time.
And, you think about those films we grew up on, is the cop movies, lawyer TV shows, the hospital shows. You would think that the only jobs in America are cops, lawyers, and some gig at the hospital. Okay, we are back. We are back here at this very limited edition of myself here. Late night update here on Real Deal Media. Dean Ryan coming back at you. Cruising with you to midnight and slightly yay under. We reach the midnight buffet. That's right. And we have the after hours discotheque on deck 12, I believe, as your cruise director. Anyways, I want to welcome back to the stage the one and only and new host of The Gavel over there on Rumble. If you haven't seen it, then you got a real problem. I don't know what else to tell you. Is the one and only Anna Toledo. She is here. Okay, Anna, welcome back. Hopefully you went to the concession stand okay as we... okay, yes, I know I did. I always get nachos and licorice. Anyways, we were talking about Bad Bunny, in case you missed it, which I confused and got confused and twisted with Boiling Bunny, the boiled bunny. A lot of bunnies around here. But, as I was saying before the break there, Turning Point USA, which is continuing, everybody. That's right. The wonderful, wonderful wife, the TV wife of Charlie Kirk. Yes, the other wife, the one playing the wife. And I guess she's continuing with good old Ben Shapiro, and he's got courage, everyone. He's got a lot. He's a very brave man, at least a little boy. Well, now TP USA now announces that they're going to be countering the Bad Bunny thing. But Anna, tell me, you said there's a little bit of a twist of some things you know about Turning Point and in relation to Puerto Rico. Please share with the class.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out because I wrote to the Turning Point people and said, if you're doing this, it's a huge mistake. And it is that the wife of a former governor that 1 million of us, including me, marched to oust him for corruption. Well, he was the president of the Democratic governors. And he is as woke as it gets. Well, his wife now says that she's doing the Puerto Rico Turning Point chapter. Charlie Kirk denounced how they, when the Hurricane Maria came in 2017, which he was a governor at that time, how they literally let people die. This woman, when she fled Puerto Rico because they kicked her husband out of the governorship, they forced him to resign. She left her dog behind and everything. I mean, this woman she's not a nice person in my personal opinion, and for other reasons that I'm not gonna publicize.
And what was the governor's name?
Ricardo. You can look him up. Ricardo Rosselló.
Okay.
It was a historic 1 million person march to force him out.
And if I could give some perspective to this, in case people forgot. You got to go all the way back to 2017. Trump gets in office. Storm hits Puerto Rico pretty hard. He sends aid in food and all sorts of things. And then as he's doing that and it arrived, you had the governor, as Anna's telling us, saying, oh, there's no food. Nothing came. He hates Puerto Ricans. He hates Puerto Ricans only to learn.
He threw away.
Right.
He let the supplies rot.
They're rotting.
Worms in a storage facility. Yeah.
I saw him. This guy hit it. He hit it all, just like Cuomo did, the New York mayor, when he said Trump didn't give us the supplies for COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he even offered to punch Trump in the face, and this tiny little guy. I mean, it's like,
Oh, I missed that part.
oh yeah, no, but that wasn't during Hurricane Maria. It was later that
Okay.
Trump had even
I
offered.
missed that part.
Trump even offered, I will give you a statehood if you give me two Republican senators. And he said, he replied back, look it up. He says, I will punch him in the face, something like that. But here's what happened. And I know this from the horse's mouth. Okay. This governor was staying in a very luxurious hotel right there in where the emergency crew were happening. I can tell you, mira, I was there. I lived through the most horrific times during Hurricane Maria. And I can tell you, there were so many good people, the veterans that went to help, the Corps of Engineers, that at that time I had a good opinion of them because they went and they rebuilt the grid until Caguas, from the south to the north. There were the Duracell people. They went there with tons of batteries. That's why I always buy Duracell. I don't know if Energizer is better than the other, but you know what? I buy them because they went to Puerto Rico and every morning they will go out to give batteries away to people. And so Donald Trump did an amazing job. And let me clarify something because I know this from a horse's mouth. When he went to the Guaynabo, when he threw the paper towel, that was not his idea. The stupid idiot mayor told him, "Mira, throw him the things that they like it. They like things thrown at them." Because let me tell you something. In Christmas time, they go around with these big speakers, go through the streets, and then in these like we were talking about the Rose Parade, like in a float car, and the mayor stands in there and he starts, like for Christmas, throwing balls at people and balls for the kids and stuff like that. So people are used to this kind of like folkloric kind of thing. So the guy, he set up Trump and say, yeah, throw them the paper towels because they like it. And it was all set up. And I can tell you, because of this guy who is the husband of a former friend, because everything I have are former friends in Puerto Rico. But he told me he was set up. He was there. So just for anytime they tell you about the paper towel thing, he was set up.
Wow. These are things I haven't thought about in quite some time. That's for sure. Now, here's a very major concern on my part is we talk about, I believe you said upwards of 60% of the citizens in the country are on welfare, which is almost
on some sort of
assistance.
Not just food stamps, but also like disability. For example, many people pretend to be crazy so that they get disability. Okay. So the Social Security kind of thing. So it's not just food stamps. It's the full gamma of federal aids that they have been able to work their way around it.
Well, okay, so this is my concern now. We're looking at a government shutdown. But in addition to that, and all the scaremongering that comes from that, part of the big, beautiful bill, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, major cuts to Medicaid and Medicare, and a major cut to SNAP, which is the food assistance. And Anna, you know as well as anyone, these households go without food. We're going to be having a real zombie apocalypse real fast, where it's going to make Haiti look like a training camp for the real thing to go live here. And I say that with concern because as I'm telling you that, well, get this now. There's now police officers who are now dead and are becoming, there's a homicidal issue happening as Puerto Rico now police probe killings of 5 men tortured and left naked. That's right. Puerto Rican authorities just today, I believe, investigated the killings of 5 men whose naked and tortured bodies were left in public areas in a rare scene for the U.S. territory battling drug trafficking. So I stand correct, not 5 dead cops. I checked that from the record. So yeah, this is happening. Investigated is starting yesterday and continuing today. The 5 men battling the drug trafficking. So as the war is ramping up in the region, in the Caribbean war, and you have little Marco Rubio, who I believe the Colombian president is calling the angel of death or something of that nature. Well, now there's even more. 3 more bodies are piled up near churches, northern cities of places like Carolina over there, near San Juan. 2 of the 3 victims were identified. So this is concerning. So if you have now food stamps getting cut, which the aid to Israel is just fine, in case anyone was worried out there. They're going to be eating just well. The food stamps, the poorest of the poor, people who are just barely getting by, and they're working 2 jobs are going to be getting cut. What is that going to look like in a welfare state like Hawaii or Puerto Rico or Chicago? Anna, what is that going to look like in Puerto Rico now that the assistance and aids are going to be cut now as we gear up for war?
Okay, I think that a lot of people are going to have to migrate and leave, because there's another part that you're not mentioning, which is that the Financial Oversight Board has looked out for the interests of shark investors. And even, for example, the Electric Utility Union. And so people in Puerto Rico now are paying something like 30 cents per kilowatt hour. And the minimum salary there is $10 an hour. When you do the math, it doesn't add up. And some people have to pay $15 in tolls every day back and forth, because the Financial Oversight Board, what they have done is burden the average Puerto Rican in so many ways that a gallon of milk in Puerto Rico costs $8.32. That's
really
it. Yes. So that's
$8.
One part. The part of the killings, what I think is happening, I'm not there, but I haven't lost my domicile because my heart is in my island, and I hope that I can come back and do something good for it when this is shut down, this criminal program. But I think that the war on drugs that Trump is waging has an impact on the drug gangs there, and that is why you're seeing these dead bodies. These dead bodies have nothing to do with, well, yeah, they have to do with the fact that there's a drug economic culture there, but it's pretty much gang related, okay? And then you have what you said. Yeah, it's gonna be a huge crisis, and particularly for the elderly. The elderly are the ones that suffer the most. There is,
Right.
you have no idea how much there is elder abuse there. And these are the ones that will suffer most, the elderly and the children. It's a, when I discovered that I was targeted and everything was taken away from me, literally everything, I tried to get food stamps because I had no money to eat, literally.
Right.
And first of all, it's all done through a phone interview. And when you call, it says no. Well, maybe it's because I was targeted that it says no, the interview is a month from now. And I'm like, what if I don't have money to buy food today? It's like, oh, well, tough.
Mhm.
That's one thing. And then the second thing is the day of the interview, they never called. But I attribute that to the fact that I'm targeted. And of course, they want to destroy your life. So maybe that's not the same for everybody. But what I'm saying is that they have significantly reduced the amount of people that work in the government, so that because of the financial oversight, and there's usually there were 10 people doing the jobs that one could do also. So I don't know how that is going right now. I really don't know, but I know that the victims will be, the elderly and the children as usual.
Well, of course. And consider that stateside too. How many grandparents in the United States today, if not around the world, are taking care of their grandkids, had to move in, or their kids had to move in with their family. A lot of family units and what that looks like is evolving. It's changing into kind of like a model you see maybe in Spain, dare I say, Greece, and places like that, where families are going to be living with their parents and their grandparents, and kind of a all in the family, clandestine kind of way. But so yes, the elderly who have to take care of households now, some of them still have to work, have fixed incomes. And then I think about too, Anna, I'm sure there's UPS in Puerto Rico. Well, UPS is laying off as we're going towards the automation and AIs, teachers, the service sector. This is a very cringy predicament and new phase we're going into for the Western world as we know it. But so yeah, the killings, and this kind of maybe ties into targeted individuals, and I'd love to get an update from you about your most recent case and kind of tie it into what we're talking about, because hey, trafficking, whether it's drugs or humans, and you get involved, whether you know it or not, you're going to be targeted by the cartels who have Project Pegasus, everybody. That wonderful, wonderful technology given to the cartels by Israel. It sends you a faulty email, text, dare you click on it accidentally or not, it'll wipe you out. And I'm a perfect example of that. It happened to me, and I'm pretty sure, everybody, it came from Mossad. And I'll make the case as when I get back and everything. But let's kind of maybe sunset on that, if we could, on it. Tell us the update and, you know, the targeting individuals, how they use cartels, if not the military itself.
Well, historically, you may know that Puerto Rico has been the land of human experimentation since the beginning of the 1900s. The United States did horrific experiments there, including the sterilization of women, a lot of horrible. And then we had the dossiers, formerly known as Las Carpetas, which it was the FBI criminals chasing pro-independence people around and making their lives living hell. And that happened from the 50s because they called any independentista, they called them a communist. And my father was one of them. And they just wanted to be free from the United States. They wanted to be a sovereign nation. And so they destroyed the lives of around 74,000 people with a COINTELPRO, FBI COINTELPRO. Well, as you know, that never ended because it morphed into what is now the Targeted Individual Program, uniting MK Ultra from the CIA with the FBI COINTELPRO, and they fusioned it into the Unacknowledged Special Access Program, of which I am a victim, and a lot of whistleblowers, all J6ers, all parents, most parents protesting at school boards, most people protesting COVID shots and mandates were put on the list. And 75% of the people still don't know. They have no clue they're on the list, and they have no clue that they're being microwaved while they're sleeping, and that they are being illegally surveilled, like the 8 senators that are so shocked that they were listening, not even listening because Dan Bongino didn't tell them, but I'm sure they were listening to their conversations. They say that they were keeping track of them, but the truth is, I am absolutely certain they were listening in. So that's what our lives is. You know, we cannot, you know, we cannot do anything without them finding out. Like this conversation right now, they're monitoring it. And if I say something that it's completely out of what I cannot say, although I don't know what that will be, because I would say it just to prove my point, they will interrupt the transmission. See, I'm not afraid of these criminals, and they know it. So we are experiments. And in Puerto Rico, I am absolutely certain that the experimentation is off the charts. And that's why we have had 344 murders since the beginning of the year. And it's 93% of the population is at least double jabbed. And the mind control is, people are dying like flies because the new settlers want the island for themselves. Okay.
Well,
And those
interesting. You say that. Continue, please. I'm just getting so many. My hair standing up.
Okay, so what happens is all of this, if those of you that have read marvelous, brilliant Dr. Anna Mihalcha and Dr. Nixon and Dr. Len Bear, you know that all of these injections had self-assembling nanotechnology. And so what happens is with the 5Gs and the microwave frequencies that come from the cell towers, these people get mind controlled. And these, I'm not talking science fiction here. All of this is patented and proven. And so what happens is that you have an island of zombies singing to the beat of Bad Bunny. And it's a horrible recipe for disaster, because then before I left, I also found out, and this is horrific, that the Santeria, which is the witchcraft religion, they dress in white, the Santeria has grown exponentially too, because people, when they see themselves in a bad financial situation, these criminals come and say, oh, if you become a Santero, you're going to have money and you're going to be good. Well, guess what?
Tell me.
No, I used to go to this beach that I would climb these rocks. And like now I realized I loved hiking. So I hiked these very dangerous rocks. And on the top, I saw in the distance what looked like a covering of snow. But of course, this is in 90-degree Puerto Rico. And I'm saying, what the hell? That looks like snow, but it can't be. So when I approached, it was all animal hair. And I asked the local woman, and I said, what is all this animal hair up there? And she says, 10 years ago, they would only do one sacrifice of animals for Santeria a week. God. Now, every day at dawn, they have a sacrifice of a goat or usually a goat, what they do. And they just go up there and kill the goat and then let it rot with the sun and then, dissolve itself. And this is really, I can send you these pictures. This is really.
If I can add here, and I want people to hopefully understand that there is a huge spiritual component into the adversary that seems to be calling all mankind all over the world in every country. And it doesn't just stop at the very unhygienic, demonic barbecue, as Anna's describing there. They come after people like Anna and people like myself. In fact, it's exactly what the late Judge William Long over there in Boulder, the one who I shared with you for the Jean Bonnet case. Well, it's exactly what he was talking about all the way back in the 90s. And as a fact here, I want to share this clip with you. This was sent to me from a show called Nino Bandino. I believe that's the name. Rodriguez, excuse me. And he had a gentleman on, and we're going to get Anna's take on this. And this gentleman had received a letter, and it goes into the black magic and something that to the effect called a witch's covenant. And I have a lot to add on about this one here, but check it out. We'll discuss after. This is it's truly amazing.
I hope this letter finds you well, though I'm not sure my words will leave you feeling the same. I've been meaning to write you for weeks, but something's been gnawing at me. I'm compelled to share it, not to scare you, but because you've always had a knack for seeing through things, and this might save your life. It's about these coven members, they call them, and their assignments in every city. It's a story that makes you question the faces around you, and I warn you, it's not to be taken lightly. I shouldn't be telling you this because it could cost me greatly, but a secret network, a group operating in every city, from the skyscraper canyons of Manhattan to sleepy towns like ours. They're old bloodline coven members. There's nothing witchy about them in broomstick kind of way or any way that makes sense. But these people blend in with like your pharmacist, your kid's soccer coach, the lady who smiles at you in the grocery line. And it says, but they're not there by chance. They're assigned, and they're assigned to their targets. It says this is where it gets dark. There's a list, an assassination list. I can't tell you who makes it. The names on it are anyone who's a threat to their uprising. But once you're marked, a coven member is dispatched. They're tasked with becoming your friend, your confidant, the person you'd never suspect. They slip into your life like a shadow you didn't notice, and while feeding information to whoever's holding the strings, all while, it says not on while. Let me paint you a picture, John, because this is where the story started to crawl under my skin. Imagine a woman named Clara, a librarian with wire-rimmed glasses, makes you feel at home. She moves to a small city, let's say ours, and starts frequenting the same coffee shop as a guy named Tom. Tom's a pastor of a church. Clara bumps into him one day, spills her latte, and they get talking. She's warm, funny, and remembers her favorite sports team, his favorite sports team, and then soon they're grabbing beers. And I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm just going to go on. But basically what they're saying here is this person is a trusted person, the person you meet just randomly, and they just seep into your life. They gather information about you. And I'm going to kind of go on here to this one part that kind of gave me chills about it here. It says they're organized like a secret society with a hierarchy. And at the top, there's someone or something calling the shots, deciding who's a threat, who's not. Below them, local handlers assign the operatives, giving them their targets, names, maybe even a dossier with photos and habits. The coven members don't always know why they're watching someone. They're told it's for the greater good, and some have personalities they don't even know about. That's the part that gave me chills, because that goes into a lot of the research that I've been doing. And it says, I haven't told anyone else, John, because I don't want to sound like I've lost it, but I know because I was in and I woke up. So do me a favor, keep your eyes open. If someone new slides into your life a little too smoothly, ask yourself why. The time is coming soon to where they will all act at once.
Wow, I just had an overdose of validation there, and I don't know what to do. Anna, this has been something I have had to deal with in the hardest of ways, by learning the hard way. I've had infiltration into Real Deal Media over the course of years. I've learned time and time again. I've had an actual witches covenant actually watch my main show at least a solid year and a half. And it all stemmed from my involvement in Boulder, Colorado with the Ramsey case. But now it appears that I'm not the only one who the witches' covenants and people that elk are going after when they're not busy eating rotten goat head in Puerto Rico. I mean, you even have Lana Del Rey, who's putting witches, hexes, and spells on Donald Trump and all sorts of people. Just how prevalent is that component to the targeted individual arena as a whole? Because a lot of people dismiss it as some kind of science fiction, but I'm here to say, no, this is science fact, and it's spiritual, and it's warfare, and it's here.
The first thing I need to tell you is you can only survive this satanic program holding on tooth and nail to God. And I am very grateful that the one person that rescued me when I was in the midst of the most horrific moment of my life, she's a Christian, and she took me to this church where God spoke to me. And ever since then, I have felt the grace of God covering me at all times. I have had dead birds that I thrown in my house that I had to pick up and throw them out because I couldn't just scream and wait for somebody to come take them for me, because I wasn't, I had all sorts of witchcraft like you have no idea, like you're talking about. But we have to differentiate here. The flying monkeys of the CIA are the ones that run this program. And then, since they are so evil and guided by the devil, they have to retain people like them, like-minded, to do their dirty work. For example, my former best friend, who was one of my handlers, his online name was Satan. And I would tell him, you shouldn't have that online name. That's bad. When you invoke the devil like that. And I was so naive. I didn't know he was destroying my life. He was reporting on everything I did or had done, on who my friends were or who my parents, everything. And he was reporting to the criminals, and he was a devil worshiper. Okay. But the real culprits, do not be mistaken. The people that are running this human experimentation program are the criminals, the over 5,000 at the Denver domestic operations at the Denver airport, in the bowels of that satanic airport in Denver. Okay, that's where they operate from. And it is my goal to expose a team of psychiatrists that is the one that creates the torture menu for each targeted individual depending on their personality, pursuant to the Breyer mix, whatever test, the personality test. You know, there's 64 types of personality. That is why some
profiles.
That is why some people get voice to skull, and other people get, like me, implanted up to from the head to the toes. And by the way, you know, Dr. Ana Mihalcha has explained to me that some of the implants I have look to be non-human. Okay, and then it's because
Ana, it is the most terrifying thing you can ever experience. Everyone, you have somebody who comes in your inner circle who. You know, and you have a good heart, and has a good heart, and we all do. And then you open, you know, your circle with arms wide open, and these people, oh, you like that? So do I. You like that? Yes. Let me tell you, we had someone come into this foundation who literally liked everything I liked. Because
they study you, Dean. Before they put that person there, they do a profiling of you. So when this person comes in here, this person already they have a dossier on you because they have spied all your electronic communications. That is what FISA is for. You are one of the 278,000 FISA victims. And this is what we need to get out in the world, because the average American thinks it's terrorists in our nation, because that's what Christopher Wray wanted people to believe. But no, it's people like you and me that get our conversations listened to.
George Tenet, who convinced the American people after 9/11 that we needed the Homeland Security and all these, apparatuses to get the cavemen, with the magical passports. Yeah, and people bought into it. But it is so intricate, everybody. And let me be your guinea pig. We had someone in this mix who literally masqueraded as a police officer, and we thought, and she was good. We all know who I'm talking about. And we found out, Anna, she wasn't even a police officer all these years that she was met. She said, oh, I only worked for Chicago PD. She was a damn meter maid. I mean, that's right. It's right up from ticket collector at the theater. Come on.
Because these people are chosen because they are psychopaths. Dean,
she is a psychopath.
One of the hiring requirements for them, for these criminals, is that they have to be a psychopath.
Oh, good God, she's a psychopath. I mean, when I was stranded in the deserts of New Mexico on it, she gave the roadside assistance the wrong address. I was stuck there for 12 hours. I thought I was going to die. So it is serious. So we are playing on a very high level, and people keep Anna in your thoughts and prayers, and everybody, because she's fighting a huge adversary. And can you tell us an update on any of the court cases recently, or is there any new ones that are in the chamber?
I'll tell you my update is the following. Last week, many of you may have watched Rand Paul's hearing on the defunct Quiet Skies, and here I was watching that hearing. You know how, like, when you're watching a baseball match or a basketball match and you're screaming at the players? Well, I was like that here. I'm like screaming at the people that were testifying at a Rand Paul and everything. No, that's in the FBI. Da. So then at that moment, I had this, God put it in my heart, Anna, you have to go to DC. And I hate the cold weather and the winter. But you know what? I am packing my bags. And as of November 1st, I want to be living in DC. I'm raising funds to go there because I have to be knocking on doors and I have to be there every day when there's hearings, when there's meetings, when there's these people walking in the halls, and I have to go and approach them and talk to them, because while I am here in Texas, they are intercepting my emails, they are intercepting my phone calls, they are whispering to their ear, she's crazy, she's a terrorist, and I have to just show up and tell them the contrary and show them the receipts. And that's what I'm going to do. And I know God is with me, because I am on a mission. I am on a mission to change the course of humanity where it was going. You know, this program was going to be rolled out to everybody, particularly with the jabs and the nanotechnology and the mind control and the Palantir coming on. So the surveillance state. So, you know, this is so urgent, and people are not getting how urgent it is, but I get it. So I'm just, you know, going out on a limb, and I'm just going to drive there, and I'm going to find a place to live, and God will show me the path.
Well, there you go. That is determination. That is a woman in the arena. That is like the Joan of Arc stories of old, meets today's standards. You know, on a positive note, and we definitely want to help support Anna Toledo's fight, as she's fighting the power, which will soon all be cyborgs. So man today, cyborgs tomorrow. But on a positive note, you know, Puerto Rico, my prediction, Anna, I think it's going to go the way of Vietnam, the way Vietnam did. It was a war-torn country for so long, and you know, but their economy really picked up, and it took a generation. It took a generation or two, and a lot of those people that came here, they're hard workers, and I think that you'll see a rebirth in Puerto Rico, because I mean, just this alone. Here's a pending story everywhere from the Business Insider why Americans are flocking to Puerto Rico. And why Puerto Rico wants your next vacation to last forever, as they're saying no longer the continent being seen as an easy getaway from the States. It's a tax incentive. So when I hear that, Anna, I hear business, I hear entrepreneurship, I hear ingenuity, and a lot of prospects. And then if you're out there too, this is going to be the next thing too. The Puerto Rican cuisine, some of I lived in Vegas, some of the most famous chefs in the world. Some of them are Puerto Rican, believe it or not. And I think we're going to see a twist on what we know as just regular Mexican food. And there's going to be a Puerto Rican rebirth. And pretty soon we're all going to be eating pasteles.
Oh my God.
Right?
When I went to Puerto Rico, they're so amazing. And
tell us what the pastele is.
Prohibited. We used to be able to ship them overnight frozen, or at least put them in the maletas, in the suitcases. But guess what? Now they're not allowing them because they were smuggling drugs inside the pasteles. So now they don't allow the shipping of pasteles, which is like the most amazing thing. So when I went to Puerto Rico a couple months ago, I did it. I had I don't even know how many pasteles, and it wasn't even Christmas. But you're right. We have the most talented. When I tell you, my country, and I say my country because even though I am an American citizen, I am a Puerto Rican, really. My country is the most amazing. And we have, for example, let me just give you a glimpse of what my life used to be. Since I rented my house, I lived off the rent of my house. So I would wake up every morning, go to the gym, then go to the beach, then go have, vodka with freshly squeezed grapefruit juice, and then go dance salsa. That was my life. Okay. And of course, that fostered a lot of envy from my former friends that were married to this man that they didn't even love, right? And they were stuck in those relationships because of money or whatever. But I was free as a bird, and they hated me for that, even though they pretended to be friends. So what I'm saying is, Puerto Rico has amazing chefs, amazing everything, amazing music, amazing. You can be at the beach surfing, and within half an hour you can be hiking.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the rebirth is in its process right now, because you look at Vietnam, Man, I had a friend who took his honeymoon. Him and his wife went backpacking through Vietnam. They loved it. And you want to get the most home-style cooked meals. The culinary arts and the cooking and food of Puerto Rico is great. And I can tell you that because in Orange County, we only have one Puerto Rican restaurant. And it just so happened to be down the street from me growing up. And I got to appreciate a lot of what I knew of Puerto Rico through its food. And that's how you want to learn a country. You want to learn about the culture. You taste the culture. And that's what we do. So you're going to hear a lot of pasteles coming up, just like you saw the Cubans, empanadas become a thing. You're going to hear more about the arroz con gandules. I love it. Yeah. The lechon asado. Oh, man. Can you tell I'm hungry?
The mofongo is amazing.
The conquito, the coquito, the little coconut.
I have an amazing recipe.
Very good.
Coquito. Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, here's a good one.
It's one special place.
This one's called El Cuperias fritters stuffed with picadillo.
Oh my God!
Okay, so this is what I'm saying. The variety of foods from our neighbors who are American, we don't know about. That's a crime in itself. We know more about Mexican food, which is the same 4 dishes, flipped over and over. This is like Caribbean mixed with love from the island there. So I want to advise people, or suggest rather, to go look into some of the culinary coming out of Puerto Rico. It is some of the most delicious food I've ever had in my life. So, but Anna,
we have really amazing restaurants, like high-end restaurants that are that known. They are up to par with the fanciest New York restaurants.
Absolutely. But Anna, we're running out of time. Tell us how we can find your show, The Gavel, and when can we expect the new Anna Toledo cooking book and/or cooking show? We hope.
Actually, I had a raw foods restaurant in Puerto Rico. When I first decided I didn't want to be an attorney anymore because I didn't know it was targeted. I did an all fruit salad and salads and raw foods, and so I love cooking.
There you go.
And I thoroughly, because I put what you just mentioned a little while ago, and I put a lot of love into it. My coffee tastes amazing because I pour a special potion of love in there. But well, I am in Rumble is Real Targeted Justice as The Gavel, but I also broadcast it through my ex, which is Ana Toledo Davila, and also through Targeted Justice X. So it's every Wednesday, and what I cover is the update on the really good news on the shutting down of government weaponization, and I do it for myself, but also because our community is usually many of them are so sad and despondent and in despair because when is this going to end? So I want to bring some happiness to them, and not only that, but the desire for them to pull themselves from the bootstraps and fight back, because the criminals of the CIA never thought we would fight back. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Absolutely. And you can catch Anna Toledo's The Gavel Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central, which is 8 p.m. Eastern. And also, you can catch her for the holidays making the empadillas, which I've been looking at this whole time here. Wonderful pastry. And the answer to eggnog is definitely the Puerto Rican creamy delight called the coquito. The coquito, the little coconut, a boozy glass this holiday. You don't want to miss that. Coconut cream. Who needs eggnog? Hell with that. Anna, you're so delightful. You are the original coquito. You are the original creamy delight of Puerto Rico.
I promise I'll bring the recipe for the next time I'm around here. I'll bring the recipe for your listeners, for your audience, so they can make it. And then, but you get Don Q white rum, which is the good one.
Oh,
not Bacardi. Don Q. Yeah.
No. Bacardi's an insult to anyone. So and also you're going to want to catch Anna. We're going to have her back for our music show because she introduced me to the real reggaeton, and I have to have Conquito eggnog on my face, and it's vastly different than the reggaeton I heard at Walmart just a few weeks ago. That is, but Anna, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.
Welcome. It's always such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for having me.
Always, always. Well, it's always a pleasure to have in Toledo here at the Late Night Updates, especially for our news radio edition. So if you like what you heard here tonight, make sure to help us support the effort. Because good Lord, don't I know I could use that with everything happening. I mean, I'm using it's like I got 2 left feet and 2 left hands because I am so handicapped without our tools, but hopefully that changes. You want to become a member too and maybe catch that music show with Anna, myself, and some of the Real Deal Music guys going over some reggaeton and other worldly music. Well, become a member, and to do that, all you got to do is go to realdealmedia.tv and become a Night Owl tonight. Yes, don't wait till tomorrow. You can still think about it, but yes, become a Night Owl, visionary debonair. A player from the Himalayas. Okay, on that note, I shall be back hopefully soon, everybody. Thank you for your patience. And it is a struggle. It's a fight, but I know the culprit. I know the playbook, and I can't be killed by conventional weapons. I don't believe I can. Anyways, knock on wood. So for Anna Toledo and everyone else here at Late Night Update, I'm Dean Ryan saying thank you for sharing a bit of your night with me. Until next time, always remember to stay tuned and stay awake. Good night, everybody.